Okay, so now we're at this point where we have 160.8, which is the total. And the last thing that we do is we take that 160.8 and we divide by the number of numbers that we had minus 1, okay? So we had 5 numbers, and we're going to divide by 5 minus 1, which is 4, okay? So if you had 6 numbers, you would divide by 5. If you had 12 numbers, you would divide by 11, etc., right? And 160.8 divided by 4 is 40.2, okay? This number is called the variance, okay? That number is called the variance. And then to get to the standard deviation, all you do is you take the square root of that number. And the square root of 40.2 is about 6.34 is what your standard deviation is, okay? So that doesn't really mean a whole lot to me just yet, but this is class A has a standard deviation of 6.34, okay? I don't want to repeat that process again to find the standard deviation for class B. We'll do that on the homework assignment. We'll do one of those, but I went ahead and plugged this into my computer, and it gave me the standard deviation for class B, which is 12.79 is what I found for a standard deviation. So you can see that class B has a standard deviation that's much larger than the standard deviation for class A. And the reason for that is when it says compare, this means that class A, the scores are closer together. Okay, and then for class B, the scores are more spread apart. Because it has a higher standard deviation, its scores are more spread out. Okay, and that tells me that. So even though the average is the same for A and B, we have scores that are closer together versus scores that are more spread apart. And that makes sense. Like we said, B was more spread apart, and B is going from 68 as his lowest score to a 98. This one's only going from 76 to 92. So that's a little bit closer of a range versus B has a wider range of values, okay? So those standard deviations will tell you a lot about how spread apart your data is, okay? Even if, you know, they have the same average, they look exactly the same, the data is more spread apart, okay, versus more close together. So I hope that made sense. Your homework assignment is just going to be the front side of this section 09, and number 3 is the only problem that you have to do that process on. And again, there's 5 numbers there. So try to do that process as best you can. Follow along with the notes that we took, and the rest of them are just going to be answering questions about mean, median, mode, all that good stuff, okay? And there you go.